right. Ready for Eddie?
Ready for Eddie? I think we took people by surprise today because we didn't promote that we were going to go live today.
Hello.
Hey, Calvin. How are you?
Thanks, sir. I appreciate it. She said, nice haircut. Well,
I agree.
appreciate it. It felt good to get a haircut. Okay. Welcome, everybody, to Off the Cuff. I am Adam Banks, broadcasting from Lexington, Kentucky. Thank you for listening to the show, and thank you for tuning in to WLXU 93.9 FM. In addition to listening to us on the radio, you can check out our Facebook live stream at Off the Cuff with Adam Banks, or you can download the Radio Lex app on your smartphone device. This is House Arrest Volume 9, and I guess I can say that we are still technically social distancing. We are keeping a good effort to social distance still for the safety of everybody's health. Amber is at her house and I'm at mine. Amber, we technically can be around each other though now, because Governor Beshear is saying that more than 10 people can gather.
And I'm going to break kayfabe, and I have seen you, and it was such a delight to just be around you.
Thank you. It was a delight to be around you. When we got together, I will say that we did embrace. We gave a big hug to one another. I'm not sure that was the correct protocol for social distancing, but anymore. I mean, are we still social distancing? I mean, in light of everything happening and in light of everything going on, is social distancing still happening? Amber, it's amazing what can happen in just a few short weeks. It's been a couple weeks since we've been on the air.
Oh, yeah.
And in the last 2 weeks, just so much has transpired. And usually we're conditioned now, because the last 8 episodes, we have talked about nothing except coronavirus. And now we're starting off the show completely talking about something completely different. We're not going to be talking about COVID-19 at the top of the hour like we typically do. Something a little bit more, actually a lot more. It's important. I don't want to say which one's more important because they're both pretty still extravagant.
Equally important.
George Floyd. Everyone knows the horrible thing that happened to George Floyd. Absolutely tragic. I think the man was murdered in plain sight. I think it was simple to see. I think that it was a travesty what happened to the man. Did you get a chance to watch the video?
Unfortunately, I watched it. I want to say I watched it about 3 times, because the first time I watched it, I thought, this is not real life. Like, this has to be something that, maybe is a hoax. So I watched it the second time just to kind of get my footing on it. And then the third time I had to watch it again because I just had to understand. And by the third time, I still didn't understand why this was happening. So unfortunately, I watched it.
Yeah, so you thought it was fake when you first turned it on. You're like, this is no way this is real.
I'm not oblivious to things happening. I'm really not. I'm not oblivious to that. I've been in this world for almost 32 years now. I've seen a lot of things, good and bad. But the thing that just absolutely devastated me was that it's 2020, and I'm sorry, I would have went to jail. A lot of people I know have said that they would, have done things differently. I would have went to jail. I would not have allowed another human being to suffer like that. If you're going to suffer, we're both going to suffer.
It was very sad what happened to George. It was really, I think it took me by surprise of how cold the police officer was that killed Mr. Floyd. It was actually a police officer who had known him or had worked previously at the same company that he had. Now, I don't think that they knew each other. I think that's still being investigated. I don't know if there was any intent of why he killed him other than just being a cold-hearted person. Looking into this man's background, I don't think there's any known racist things that he's done in public, not that I know of or that he's been recorded of doing. But this guy clearly killed a black man for no reason when he was clearly saying that he couldn't breathe. Now, I was suffocating just watching the video. Like I couldn't, I mean, it hurt me because anytime I watch somebody not being able to catch their breath, it like even talking about it, it gives me, it makes me want to like, it's hard to take deep breaths. So I can only imagine how he felt and how humiliated he was to die in front of tons of people.
And honestly, now in front of millions of people. In front of millions of people.
Yeah, now in front of millions. It's very sad. And but a lot of things have been happening in light of what happened to George Floyd. A lot of protests have been happening. I must say, the protest that's been happening in Lexington, for the most part, it's been peaceful. I think that it's been people out trying to stand up for the Black Lives Matter movement. And hey, you do you. You go out there and you protest and you do what you believe is right. And it's a shame on anybody who has anything negative to say about people who are peacefully protesting. I think there's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
I just don't understand why people are so against peaceful protesting. Now, the rioting and the looting, I will never sit here and say that I support that. I think that's ridiculous. I think tearing other people's businesses apart that had nothing to do with this incident is not solving anything. But the peaceful protesting, I'm for it.
We can't take away from the fact that these people, and I say these people because we're part of these people too, because we're all humans. They're tired of not being heard. And I get it. I did see a meme that was posted on Facebook and it said white privilege is when you look and say that the rioting has to stop and, oh, I'm sorry, a black man was killed. And it really needs to be the other way. It needs to be, oh, I'm really sorry, you know, that this black man unfortunately lost his life. And hey, if we could stop looting, that would be great too. I think so many people have forgotten that these people just want to be heard. And again, I hate that I say these people, but I don't know what it's like. Yes, I grew up in extreme poverty. You know that, just like half of our listeners do. But at the end of the day, I am still I'm still a Caucasian female. And I don't know what it's like to be profiled. I really don't. And I want to say that maybe if I spent the bulk of my life feeling like I couldn't even walk down a street, I probably would be at that point too.
You would, yeah. So you're saying that you are excusing the actions of the looting and the robbery and the burning down of buildings in order to be heard? Is that what you're saying? I'm just trying to put it in perspective of what you're trying to say.
If that's the way that people have to view it, then yeah, I really am, because something has to stop. Something has to give. We have to treat everyone equally. And obviously that man was put down. And it wasn't just that man, you know, Breonna Taylor up in Louisville, she lost her life earlier in March for some nonsense. I don't know how else to say it other than that. It was nonsense. Yeah. Something has to give. And you know, for every action, there's a reaction. And I think people forgot that, you know, if you want to continue to be brutal, people are going to give you a reaction. So if we don't want the reaction, which unfortunately is looting and rioting right now, if we don't want that reaction, stop giving them the action.
So I'm looking here at some information on the police officer who murdered George Floyd. It says he was a 44-year-old white man, and he had been with the Minneapolis Police Department since around 2001, a long time, a lot of experience. Yeah. And since then, he's had 18 complaints on his official record, 2 of which ended in discipline from the department, including official letters of reprimand. He had been involved in 3 police shootings, 1 of which was fatal. Now, let me just go ahead and say this too. Sometimes, and a lot of the times, the wrong people become cops. A lot of the times, cops are not in it for the right reasons. it's a shame that a lot of people feel more fear than protection when a cop drives by.
Mhm.
That is it's a sad world that we can't really have respect for cops, because every time that you even think in the slightest, okay, the cops are out here doing their job, you see things like this. It's not like this is the only time it's happening. This is one of the few times it's been recorded. It
Yeah.
happens all of the time. The thing that happened to Mr. Floyd was not the first time this has happened. This has happened several times. It's just not been filmed. A lot of cops think when they get their badge and they get a gun that they are
Invincible.
so much more powerful and they're above you, and they are invincible. And a lot of the people who become cops have power trip issues anyway. A lot of them, it's hard not, there are a lot of good cops.
Mhm.
Don't get me wrong, but there's
Just like there's a lot of good black men too.
but there's a lot of bad ones. There's a lot of bad ones. And, I've had my issues with cocky police officers. I'm sure you've had issues with cocky police
Unfortunately,
officers.
yes, I have.
And it's sad when we see these people in power taking people's lives for nothing. When I went back and I watched that video, it looked like to me that he wasn't taking his knee off of this man's neck because of pure stubbornness. He did not want to back down, because there's no other way that I can justify why he didn't take his knee off of his neck when he said, number one, I can't breathe. Number two, when George was no longer a threat. No longer a threat. He was laying there limp. Why put him in that much pain? Cops, and I'm talking to all cops out there, your job is not to overpower us. It's to protect us.
It's to serve.
And it's it's not to be inhumane. It's not to inflict pain. Now, I can see you inflicting pain on somebody who you caught molesting a baby, or you inflicting pain on somebody who you caught in the act of raping someone, or you caught somebody that was, beating up old people. But you taking out putting your knee on this man's neck over a counterfeit, what, $50 bill, $20 bill?
A counterfeit $20 bill. $20.
That's mean as hell. And I don't know what else.
That's not mean. It's evil. It is evil. We talk all the time about evil being here on earth, and we realize that it is here. And I think that unfortunately, a lot of us got to really see what that meant. Because trust me, we've all seen evil. We've all seen things that we're like, wow, that didn't happen. But to physically see another person take a man's life over something so minuscule, if they wanted that $20 back so bad, I'm pretty sure a lot of us, we could have raised them a million $20 bills if that's what they would have wanted. It wasn't worth it.
I just wonder that if the bystanders hadn't recorded it, this would have been a thing that would have just happened, and he would have died by himself.
Yes.
On the concrete with nobody knowing, and there would have been no justice.
And nobody would have known exactly what happened.
But now you have to look at everybody's got a cell phone now. Things are like this are going to be recorded. Hopefully this is a wake-up call for the dirty cops out there that you can't get away with being evil.
Nope.
You just can't be away with being evil. But Amber, I've been seeing the protests. I've been seeing the rioting. I see people stealing things from stores, and I don't understand why they're still wearing their mask to protect themselves from COVID-19.
I don't think it's from COVID-19. I
don't understand. Maybe they're wearing their mask for another reason. Maybe it's to rob literally the bank or whatever they're trying to do. But I don't understand why they're still wearing their mask when they're robbing these stores, if they are trying to keep themselves safe from COVID-19, because they're touching all over things.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's very unsanitary. And in light of this, look, I'm not even going to go there with what's on the ground and things like that of that nature, but we have to keep in mind that there is still a serious virus out there, and we need to remain sanitary.
Very. And unfortunately right now we are not social distancing, but just because we have these protests and they're not social distancing does not mean that you cannot still take the proper precautions or the universal precautions that we've all been taught our entire lives. Wash your hands, maintain good hygiene. And you know what? Maybe just don't get up in other people's faces. Unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of that right now, though.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Stick with us. We got lots more off the cuff coming up after these words. Welcome back, everybody, to Off the Cuff. Adam Banks with you. Amber is also joining me at her house. I'm at mine. This is House Arrest Series, Volume 9. We are still locked out of the studio. That's why we are still doing the show in two separate locations, because let's go ahead and be honest. Me and Amber, we've seen each other the day that they said that more than 10 people can be around each other. We saw each other. It was nice. But
Glorious.
the studio will open again July the 9th. So we will be back in the studio with live episodes July the 9th. I really do look forward to that. And it's nice to actually feel like things are getting back to somewhat of a new normal. We are in phase 2. We talked about all of the things that opened in phase 2 last time we were on the show. Still to open, we're waiting for libraries on June the 8th. I don't know who's waiting for a library, but I'm sure there's some people. Campgrounds, public and private, will open June the 11th. June the 15th, childcare with reduced capacity and potentially low touch and outdoor youth sports. June 22nd, if guidelines are met, restaurants could expand to 50%.
That's great news.
Yeah, I've already been to a couple restaurants.
Yes, and it was absolutely wonderful. I don't know if you felt the same way.
Yeah, the menu was limited, but I didn't even care.
I didn't either.
It was just nice to be back into a restaurant. And of course, the bars and groups of 50 will be in effect on July 1st, meaning the studio will be open July 9th. I'll be in the studio. Amber will still have to be at her house, but the good thing is we'll be live and I'll be able to make the show live from the studio. So
does that mean we're canceling our Tuesday dates?
Our Tuesdays will no longer be a thing. I mean, as much as I've enjoyed doing the studio, home studio, and doing the show with you from remote locations, it's time to put a bow on the House Arrest series very, very soon.
You did got you a nice little setup now, though.
Yeah, doing something a little different.
Yep.
I had to work out a few kinks to get my on-camera set looking right, but finally got it.
You got it.
I came into pink on our segment when we opened up. I don't want everybody to forget about COVID-19. So every segment I'm going to actually all the music that's going to be played on today's show is going to be a musical artist that's been diagnosed with COVID-19. So segment 2 opened up with Pink. And we're going to actually go ahead and do our song of the week with someone who's been diagnosed with COVID-19. Some people call her the queen of pop. Some people call her the queen of the 80s. You know who I'm talking about. It's Madonna. Madonna has been diagnosed with COVID-19. Amber, before I play the Madonna song as off the cuff song of the week, would you say that Madonna is the queen of pop?
That's debatable. Maybe certain songs, yes, but I don't know if I would call her the exact queen. I think it might be a good tie between her and Whitney Houston, but that's just my opinion. And you know what opinions are like. We all got one.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to have to say Lady Gaga probably would be.
But of the 80s? You said of the 80s. I thought we were just talking about that time frame.
No, I'm talking about of all time. So
of all time, then yeah, I agree with you on that. But I thought we were doing a time frame.
No. But let's go ahead.
Keep me in the know, man.
Let's go ahead and kick it with Madonna. Express yourself, because that's what everybody's doing right now. They're expressing themselves. Express yourself. Roll down them windows and enjoy off the cuffs song of the week with positive COVID-19 patient Madonna. We'll be right back after the song.
Of course, Lena Garrett will be waiting on the library to open because you're raising a good child. Look who's not looking forward to the library, though.
Welcome back, everybody, to Off the Cuff. That was Off the Cuff Song of the Week. Madonna, Express Yourself. Amber, things, because of all of the info that's been released with the protesting and racial issues coming to light, things have been in the media. Things have hit the forefront, and Jimmy Fallon is right in the middle of it. I don't know if you've seen it, but he has now been exposed of wearing blackface back when he did Saturday Night Live, and fans seem to be forgiving him quite easily. So what is the difference with Jimmy Fallon wearing it and people forgiving him, but Kelly
Leanne Huff,
Leanne Huff, but then you got, what was her name that did Megyn Kelly, who actually said it was okay to wear blackface for Halloween, got fired. I'm just trying to figure out why people are so forgiving towards Jimmy Fallon, or am I seeing something completely different?
I think so. When I was kind of looking into it, because the first person I thought about was Julianne Hough, the dancer from Dancing with the Stars. She dressed up as Crazy Eyes from Orange is the New Black a couple of years ago, and it was cancel culture on her. It really was. And at the time, I was like, man, that's not right. I've never done it, never thought about doing it, won't ever think about doing it. But then I start seeing things, and I see that Chris Rock said it's okay. And I see that Tim Meadows even made a little statement, it's okay. So I just wonder if because he had people who were excusing his behavior because they are saying it was part of the comedy routine, which it was at the time, and he wasn't making fun of the ethnicity in itself, but he was making fun of a particular person. So I mean, again, though, Julianne Hough did the exact same thing when she was a character from a specific show. I don't know, I think there was a little bit of a double standard there. I'm already not a huge Fallon fan, so I'm a little biased again.
I don't know why people what goes through people's mind when they are thinking about putting on black makeup on their face. I really don't know how you could do that and even think it totally is. So anyone who even thinks that's okay to do, I just no. You need to get a little bit smarter than that, sissy.
Get a little bit smarter than that, sissy.
Joe Biden, your boy, Sleepy Joe, as Donald Trump likes to call him. Poor guy. I think the man's gone senile. I really do. I think it will be a complete travesty if we elect him as our next president. I think that you want to talk about a disaster. Elect a senile man. Elect a man that's 77 years old, that's already got one foot in the grave, that's already got clearly senile tendencies, being considered for the presidency of the United States. Joe Biden, he was doing an interview the other day, and at the end of the interview, he said, "You've got more questions?" And Biden responded, well, let's see. He was talking with Charlemagne the God. I don't even, you know who that is from the Breakfast Club?
Sure.
Okay. No. Well, he is a radio personality, and he's no count. But he was interviewing Joe Biden, and he says that anyone interested, he told Charlemagne that anyone considering voting for Trump ain't black.
Oh, do what?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
That's what he said. So this is one of the times that I wish I was in the studio so I could play the audio, but I can't do that. But I had to go back and listen for myself to actually believe he did it. But he did. He actually said, if you consider voting for Trump, you're not black. That was not a good look for you, Joe Biden.
This is the one time I'm happy we're not in the studio, because if you would have played that, I would have been bleeding from the ears at that nonsense.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with our second half of Off the Cuff right here after these words. Whew.
I'm drinking an ice cold water. I just want you to know that. Ice cold.
Welcome back, everybody, to Off the Cuff. Adam Banks here with you. Amber is with me. She is at her house. I'm at mine. This is House Arrest Series Volume 9. Little Sturgill Simpson playing in the background. He, too, a COVID-19 patient, or I should say survivor. He's saying now that he no longer is having symptoms and he's better.
I guess that's a good thing.
It is. Amber, tragically, Eddie Sutton, former UK basketball coach, passed away. And now people still pass away from other things other than COVID-19. Eddie Sutton was a well-known alcoholic. He liked to have a drink or two, but he had a very interesting tenure while coaching the University of Kentucky basketball team. He was a good coach, just had a lot of bad luck. I liked Eddie Sutton. I think he's going to go down as one of the greatest coaches in college basketball. He had UK at one point on fire. He was only there for 4 years, but in the 4 years that he was there, look what he did. He always had a winning season with him. And if you're not counting his last because of the scandal, but he went to the Sweet 16 with him.
Wait, I need to know about this scandal.
He went to the Elite Eight with him. Oh, I'm getting to that because that is what sums up his career. The scandal is what got him fired. The scandal was the downfall of Eddie Sutton. And the scandal took place during the 1987-1988 year, or the 1988-1989 year. An assistant coach working for Eddie Sutton sent $1,000, I think it was, to a Kentucky basketball recruit. And the mail carrier opened the package and saw that it was money being sent to the recipient, to the recruit, and that's against NCAA violations.
That's a federal offense.
So they started investigating UK, and they said that they found several other violations under Sutton, and they considered giving Kentucky the death penalty, but they settled with just giving us a couple of years probation and not being able to go into March Madness. So Eddie Sutton, sadly, he got caught doing what everybody does, and that's cheat as they coach college basketball. And I'm here to say that every coach, every great coach has cheated, just not been caught. If they don't have anything on their record for cheating, it's just because they haven't been caught. I mean, look at the great coaches that cheat. Rick Pitino, John Calipari. I'm not throwing him under. He's not cheated at Kentucky, but for sure he cheated at UMass and he cheated at Memphis.
I mean, I said it last show. Everybody gets a little dirty. Just take dirty in its own context.
But Eddie Sutton is going to be the most forgotten coach that UK has ever had. Adolph Rupp, people will remember him for his legacy. People will remember Rick Pitino for bringing Kentucky back to prominence. People will remember Tubby Smith for winning a championship. People will remember John Calipari for winning a championship. People will remember Billy Gillespie for the crapshoot that he put Kentucky through, because you always remember the worst. The one that's going to be the most forgettable, sadly, will be Eddie Sutton.
And that should be the one that shouldn't be, because opening the mail is a federal offense. And I wonder if that was even looked at during that time.
He contributed a lot to UK's just pageantry.
Yeah. The
little brother was coined by Eddie Sutton when he called Louisville the little brother of UK. You know how people say during the UK Louisville rivalry, they say, oh, Louisville is our little brother. That was coined by Eddie Sutton. He is the one that started that. So he really was putting wood on the fire during that.
Yeah. Hopping it up.
And I'm telling you, a coach that if he wouldn't have been caught, I think he would have won a championship. He was on his way. But if we hadn't have had him, we would have never got Rick. And look what Rick did for the team. But he had an abrupt ending, and it was very sad.
That's almost a tragic story. Like, how many people in the world would have gotten caught in that way? It's almost like a Scooby-Doo episode, isn't it? I would have got away with it if it wasn't for that mail carrier.
It says after an 18-11 record in 1986 and 1987, the Wildcats skyrocketed to the number 1 ranking in the country, winning their first 11 games of the season. Kentucky would capture the SEC tournament title, but that was later vacated because of his scandal. But Yeah, it says the scandal broke when it was alleged that Emory Worldwide employees, which was the mail carrier company, discovered $1,000 in cash in an envelope that Kentucky assistant coach Dwayne Casey supposedly sent to Mills's father. It was later shown that Casey was uninvolved in the Emory envelope incident. So it was all Sutton.
I smell something more than a scandal.
Sutton, you play a little dirty, you're going to get caught.
Sutton should have played a little clean, and but shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Amber, did you get a chance to watch the SpaceX when the rocket launched into space?
Yes, I did.
It was I watched it too, and I will say I didn't get to watch the last time it happened because I wasn't here for it, but I was scared. Was you thinking at all that, oh my God, this rocket could blow up?
Well, no, I try not to think like that because I over exaggerate in my head, and I had to just look at it from, okay, it's a plane taking off, and then I have to just kind of block out that they're going out into the unknown. But it was still chill.
It happened on May the 27th. The planned launch of American astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley. It can't get no cooler than being an astronaut. I mean, honestly,
No.
And really, those guys are the two luckiest people in the world because they get to leave planet Earth during a time like this.
Yes, like they got the best ticket to get out of here when everybody wanted to get out of here.
Yeah, so they shot up to the International Space Station. And have you ever got on YouTube and just looked at videos of the International Space Station? I have too. I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Astronauts wash their hair. I'm obsessed with that. I find it so fascinating how the water just kind of bubbles together.
Yeah.
If you've not checked it out, you should check it out.
Yeah, folks, you could actually get on YouTube and watch the International Space Station live right now. And you could have done that way before SpaceX happened. You can get on right now and see what they're doing in space on YouTube. It's live. It was good stuff. But I was a little scared. It was postponed because of poor weather conditions originally, but they did launch it finally on May the 30th because it was originally scheduled on May 27th. So they launched it on May the 30th, and they launched it at 3:22 p.m., and they successfully made it up to space.
That has to be so fun. But I always wonder, like, when they come back, if that's one of the things. I'm sure that's the only thing people want to talk to them about, but I wonder if they just do like one good story, like, hey, here's what happened. Don't ask me anymore.
But you talk about having anxiety, though. I would have a panic attack if I was up in space, really, and just walked outside and I see nothing around me but just black and just space, just nothing around me, but just
nothing.
You talk about a panic attack, and who's gonna be there to calm you down?
I mean, I guess you have to be biffles with your friend that you went up there with. I mean, just imagine going up there with somebody that you hate.
That's got to be a good bonding experience to go.
Yes. Yes. You cannot hate the other astronaut that you're going into space with.
No, you can't. It's literally the only person in the world that you have contact with.
What would you honestly, what would you do if you went into space with somebody that you didn't like and you were stuck in this, I don't want to say tube of demons.
Like what would you do would you just go to Mars if you were mad at him? Like if you were just mad, would you just like, well, I'm going to go to Jupiter. Screw you.
Get in your space suit and like on down the road, like hitchhike home, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, that's not a place you want to make enemies either. People could easily say, oh, he just drifted off into dead air.
Like, oh man, I don't know what happened to him. His cord come detached or something. Then boom, you're gone. Where do you go? I guess you just float.
It is cool though that people actually do that. I have no desire to do it because I know if I actually went to space, I would have a panic attack when I got up there. And I'd probably die if I went up to space because I would freak out so much.
Oh yeah. And I think, don't they usually spend like at least a year in orbit? Could you imagine being like, okay, well, I'm gonna go up into space for a year. I'll catch y'all later.
Yeah. How do we talk about how are things going to go back to normal here in this world? How do you go back to normal when you've been in space for a year?
I honestly, I don't think that it can go back to normal because you've seen the unknown. A lot of people have never seen that. You've
seen the unknown, and you can actually think about how trippy it would be to be able to look out and see the planet, to see Earth, and to know that you are not on that planet anymore. You are outside of the planet. Like, you can no longer say, I'm on planet Earth. You are watching over the whole planet. It's quite amazing.
And quite scary.
It would beat the Challenger Center. I'll tell you that. If I went to space, it would beat the Challenger Center.
Nah, I'm gonna have to take that back from you, because that was a good time.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with our last segment here on Off the Cuff. Stick with us. Welcome back, everybody, to Off the Cuff. Last segment of the hour. Adam Banks here with you. Amber is also with me at her house. I'm at my house. We are doing the show in remote, different locations in an effort to keep a social distance. The studio will be back open July the 9th with live episodes, and we are excited. Couldn't be more thrilled to have live episodes again, because there's a total difference in live and recorded. Wouldn't you say, Amber?
There is a huge difference.
I got a haircut. You can see that on the show thread if you're able to log on to facebook.com/off the cuff with Adam Banks. It was actually nice to go in and get a haircut. It felt like a very normal thing to do. It felt like the old days. A little different. You know, I'm not a big fan of wearing the mask, but I had to wear a mask because I had to get my hair cut, and I had to do what I had to do.
I understand.
Went in, wore the mask, got my hair cut, and I said, how long are we going to have to wear these masks while getting a haircut? And the woman said, we're probably going to be wearing them a long time. And I was like, man, we're never going to get sports back, are we? Because if we have to wear a mask to get our hair cut, there's no way they're going to pack a stadium full and let people in to watch sports.
No.
It's just not going to happen.
No. Not at all.
Pools possibly could be opening. I know I said in a couple episodes that pools were not going to be opening this summer. That's not going to be happening for Lexington, according to Linda Gordon, the mayor of Lexington. Now, as far as Kentucky, there is still hope for pools to open. So if you don't live in Lexington and you have a swimming pool in your area, the public pools could open still. There's still hope.
Yep.
And COVID-19 is yesterday's news. I don't hear anybody talking about it anyway. So maybe this is going to make things open up even quicker. I mean, is Andy Bashir even coming on every day?
I think he comes on at 4 now. I think it's 4:00.
Why is he trying to interfere with Off the Cuff's time slot?
I don't know. We're going to have to send a press release to him.
I don't think anybody really wants to watch Andy Bashir anymore.
No.
I can't think of anybody in the history of politics who's been on TV every single day for the last 3 months that's been a politician in this state.
I think he's enjoyed it a little too much being on the television.
Well, yeah. The Andy Bashir show is every day, weekdays at 5, prime time.
The Andy Hour.
The Andy Hour.
You know.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's about that time for Off the Cuff to say its goodbyes for the week.
Before we jump, Adam, I have one thing I would like to say.
Sure.
It was my husband's birthday this week, so I just want to say happy birthday to my loving husband.
Happy 37th birthday to Wiley Turner. 38th birthday.
He's 38.
Wiley Turner. Amber, you were almost married to a 40-year-old. How does that make you feel?
Asked me in 2 years. He's got 2 years left.
Ooh, that's weird that you will be married to a 40-year-old.
Well, I mean, by then I'll be 34, so we're closing the age gap slowly. Maybe just, I'm married to an old wise man. There we go. That won't get me in trouble at home.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and look at the show thread before we say goodbye to everybody. Sarai says, what about the babies killed every day in Planned Parenthood? Institutions in the Black community, they need to be heard too. Yes. Babies being killed. I think there's protests going on always for that. Some cops just get crazy with authority. It goes to their head. I agree. Shannon says, burn it down.
Shannon
is the biggest troll. Let me just talk about Shannon for just a second. Shannon is one of these listeners who gets on Off the Cuffs thread and he likes to troll the entire thread. But
you had some great advice for him last time. Maybe you should revisit that advice.
Shannon, last week, if you can't remember what I told you, it was to get up off your hind end and get a job. Get off that unemployment that you're trying to waste from the state and get you a job and get off the cuff show thread. But you can follow Amber at Ambu447 on all social media platforms. You can follow me, Adam Banks, at the Adam Banks on all social media platforms. You can follow Off the Cuff with Adam Banks on Facebook to watch all of our live stream episodes. Listen to all of our previous episodes on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. Amber, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
We will see everybody in 2 weeks because next week we're going to be doing a replay show from our archives, a random episode from our previously recorded episodes or previously live episode that we have done. And then we will be back in 2 weeks. What date is that, Amber?
Oh, you would ask me about dates. I don't know.
And I can't. Okay, wait. Today is the 4th, the 18th. We'll be back on the 18th with a good episode. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Adam Banks. That is Amber Turner. And this is Off the Cuff. We will see you in 2 weeks. We'll catch you down the road. All right.
All right. Bye, everybody.